But please welcome, give it up for Wina Smeenk.
Yeah, thank you all for being here, and it's my pleasure to tell you in a few minutes what we have been doing in a project together with these 4 universities. So it's our expertise network just started last year, and we are 4 applied universities in Holland, The Hague, Utrecht and Rotterdam, and together we want to find out what systemic co-design can mean for society as a whole and for the cooperations of government, business, knowledge institutions and the people concerned, so civilians, residents, etc. And this is made possible by SIA, so it's a strong subsidy for the people who know about that. And our first project already started before we launched our expertise network, which is rather nice, and thanks to ClickNL. So we were working together with Gemelot, a big chemistry compound in the south of the Netherlands, and with Safety Delta Nederland. Safety Delta Nederland is a bigger branch organization, you could say, that makes sure that all the chemical industry compounds in the Netherlands are safe. And Cytec Services is one of the organizations on the Gemelot compound in the south of the Netherlands. And we worked locally with them to find out what we could do about safety at this compound. And then later on, we can kind of scale up or zoom out to all the compounds in the Netherlands. So that's the starting point of the project. And this project has been done by In Holland and the researchers of In Holland, and they are here. So that is Anja Kupjen, and also by The Hague, the Applied University of The Hague, and that's Katinka. Welcome, both of you. And we did this together with Fundamentals, a creative agency. So this was the whole coalition we worked with. And yeah, since we are an expertise network, systemic co-design, we want to kind of bring together different kind of models, instruments that the separate universities and the separate research domains have. So one of the instruments we started with is the one of In Holland, and that's based, it's the co-design canvas, I will show it later, and it's based on the co-creation design choices of Lee et al., which is a very interesting paper to read, and it goes too far to tell you about this whole scheme. But what is interesting is that he says that it's important to be aware of all the design choices you make as a consortium in a design process, in a co-design process. And since this is rather difficult to read, literally, but also if you look closely at it, we kind of searched for another way of transferring it to the people, and that can be businesses or government or also students. And so In Holland developed together with the Cube Design Museum and Anja Kupjen the co-design canvas, which kind of shows like the business model canvas, which steps to take in a way, but it's all about design decisions. So it starts with what is the context of the cooperation that you want to start together, and what is your purpose, what do you want to change together, and to kind of maybe you also know already what impact and results you want to achieve together, but probably it's very important that you go to the stakeholder map and that you find out what each and every individual and organization or team, what kind of interest they have in this project that you are going to start together, what kind of knowledge they have, and what kind of power they have. And the later one is something that we don't discuss that much as designers. And as soon as you are very clear and transparent in how, what your interest is, what the knowledge that you bring is, what knowledge is missing at your side, what others might bring in, and what kind of power and influence you have or you take, that really helps to get a coalition started. And then later on, you go to a more co-design focus, and you are starting activities, etc. It goes too far to go into depth, but this is the co-design canvas, and this is the instrument in Holland. And then we also have a nice instrument of The Hague Applied University, and that's impacting systems with labs. What it says is that we have a current system. So there's a current situation, a current system, which is not functioning that well anymore. And we want to go to a future system. And what should we do for that? So it explains that you need to make clear what is the system, what kind of stakeholders are to be identified, and then you go into labs. You are going to do a lot of small things, small experiments, and then you are going to reflect on that, and you find new kind of drivers and mechanisms for change. And all together, all these different labs and outcomes and insights help you with different kind of mechanisms and drivers for change. And then you can scale up, and this can even lead to a difference in, for instance, this project that they did in the retail led to a change of legal procedures and even legislation. So we have these two very interesting tools, but how do they relate to each other? That is what we wanted to find out in a project with the chemistry department in Gemmelot compound. And by having a lot of co-design moments together with them online and also on-site, and online because of Corona, unfortunately, we found out that we can use the co-design canvas in each stage of this lab process I just showed you. But we also found out that we need something extra to kind of stimulate the dialogues on safety. And in the end, what came out is kind of a toolbox for the safety of chemical industry compounds that has the co-design canvas and the lab process, plus the extra card for stories, and explains people how they can start up co-design projects together within their together with the different companies, because that's something that we see with the chemistry setting, is that there are so many different companies within this compound that need to work together, and they all have their own interest and their own knowledge and their own power with regard to safety. It's very, very complex. And then even there are contractors coming outside in, and they have even other safety issues. So this was an experiment, a small project where we tried to combine these two toolkits, and we really found out that it worked for them, that it gave their safety project a deeper meaning, that there were more concrete stories that they could relate to, that they were understanding each other much better, but it was just a start. So now we want to proceed with Safety Delta Nederland to check out if this toolkit will also work at other compounds in the Netherlands. So that's it for now, and I'm curious for questions. Thank you.
Wina Smeenk, thank you so much. Thank you. You can just leave it. It's fine. So it's very interesting indeed to see where you can take this further, because you say it's maybe a small start, but with quite concrete and specific outcomes. So the next steps, you were saying maybe in other compounds, but also maybe towards citizens, I'm thinking?
Yeah, the thing is that with chemistry, we found out that the words like labs, the second instrument was called impacting with labs. That labs is a very difficult word for them. So they didn't want us to use.
For whom?
For the people working in a chemistry.
Right.
Because for them a lab, for us it's experimenting. We are creative people.
Yes.
And we think we use a lab to experiment and to learn. But for them it's like a lab is something very serious. You shouldn't use that word.
No, you need a coat and glasses.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So we really found out that the vocabulary was a very important thing, and also the word experiment. I mean, it's called experiment from ClickNL,
Yes.
but when we used the word to this sector, they were like, "Oh my God, no!
Things
it's
might
not-
explode."
We are not like."
Yes.
So we called it an experimental project, and then it was okay. But this is so important. So it's like extra knowledge we got.
Yeah.
But it was truly delicate. And the same thing goes with citizens.
I'm sure.
So we did, of course, trigger them to also invite citizens to be in the safety dialogues.
Yeah.
But that was a step too far for now.
Okay.
So we need more time and more trust in the process, I think, before we can take that step.
But those steps will be taken. You've got
We
time
are
to...
still in contact with them. They are
Yeah.
very enthusiastic, and they will now first try to use this toolbox themselves in a broader group of people. And of course, we said that they can always contact us if they have some problems or they need some facilitation expertise. But that is within the compound in Gemelot. But the Safety Delta Nederland organization, that is over the whole of
The
Netherlands.
umbrella. Yeah.
They want maybe to start it also in Rotterdam or in the north of the Netherlands.
Cool. Yeah, well done. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Time for your questions. Please raise your hand if you have one. If it's your turn, you can walk up to this microphone right here. It'll be a very cool situation. You'll have your own microphone. You can introduce yourself and ask away. So maybe a show of hands and then wave a little, because there's a lot of light on me, but not so much on you. If I can quickly sort of, I'm going to do like this. I see a hand over here. Could you stand up and walk to the microphone, please? Yeah, it's your moment of fame. On the stage even, I love it. Well done.
I'm very triggered by this vocabulary
Could
we
you please
used.
introduce yourself?
My name is John van der Einde. I'm a professor of applied sciences at Artes University of the Art in Technical Design. I'm always triggered by the vocabulary we like to use in the sector itself. So you mentioned the lab. It's quite confusing, I think. I experienced the same difficulties. And there's a famous book, I think, about the lab, the field, and the showroom.
Yeah.
So, how can we reach a common vocabulary in this? Because what you are doing is a field experiment and not a lab experience. So, and you are a quite big research group based on the Smeenk subsidy. Are you also working on this kind of common vocabulary?
Thank you for
Yeah.
your question.
Thank you for your question. Yes, of course we are, because I think if you talk about systemic co-design, you want to take along all layers. And that's also why it popped up, I think, in this experiment, because the researchers really talked through a lot of layers within organizations and between organizations. And then these things pop up. And it's, we all know that creatives can have all sorts of nice wordings for things. But in this project, we got it more back than ever before, to be honest. And I think it's because these areas are so different. And even when we started to work with fundamentals to make the translation to the toolkit, we had to take them along as well, because they were like, they were using other words again than we were using. So we already learned in the process, and then working with them again gave some friction in vocabulary and language. And I think that was also something I didn't mention yet, but I think we also took the creative industry in this along with us in this thinking. So for them, it also opened their eyes on how important language can be in the things that you design, especially if it's tools or convivial tools or boundary objects or, yeah.
That's very interesting, because normally people, when you talk about design, think about visuals quite quickly. But there's a whole world out there in what our words mean and what they say to others and how they connotate. So I think that's very interesting that you're now focusing
and I
on
think
that
we all
more as
know
well.
that, but
Yeah.
as soon as it becomes so clear because of just the word experiment or just the word lab,
Yeah.
then you think that you should even work more with visuals or icons or these kind of things. So
Yeah.
there's a lot to gain here.
Yeah, and also to really also maybe take a moment to make sure that you all understand the same thing with the same lingo.
Yeah. And
Thank
this
you
is
so
the
much.
same with what I was discussing in the co-design canvas, the power. The power is something that designers think is like, "Ugh, we shouldn't talk about power. If you talk
No, we
about
don't want to talk about power.
influence,
No.
I think we do. It's
different.
Different
Yeah,
for
it feels
us.
a bit softer, no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, there is power.
Yeah,
I
sure.
mean, and there are hierarchies.
Yeah.
Difficult
Hierarchies.
word.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
So we should be aware of that.
Yes,
And
yeah.
especially in systemic co-design, we need to think about this and we need to learn about this. Yeah. So that's what we will do the coming years.
Good
Yeah.
luck.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Give it
Okay.
up for Wina Smeenk. Thank you.